Okay, so in this video we're going to do composition of functions. So I've got f inverse of f of x equals cosine inverse of cosine x, which is equal to x, where x is stuck between 0 and pi. Okay. The other form of this composition is f of f inverse of x, which is the cosine of arc cosine of x, which equals x, as long as x is between -1 and +1. Okay, so these are my two identities. Okay. All right, so using these properties above, I want to find the exact values. Find exact value of first one, cosine inverse cosine pi over 12. Okay, so cosine inverse cosine pi over 12. What's going on here? Well, what I need to do is see which one it matches up. Looks like it matches up with that first one. So I need to make sure that my x is between 0 and pi. Pi over 12 is between 0 and pi. Check. So that means this is just equal to x. X here is pi over 12. Okay, no biggie. Let's try another one. Let's do cosine, arc cosine of -0.4. Okay, so this one matches the second equation. Now this is okay as long as this argument here is between -1 and 1. -0.4 is between -1 and 1. So we're good to go here. So this, whenever I plug it in, I get -0.4 as my answer. Okay, the next one, let's do cosine inverse cosine -2 pi over 3. All right, so this looks more like that first. So I need to make sure that my theta, my x, is between 0 and pi. -2 pi over 3 is less than pi, but it's not less than or equal to 0. Okay, so what happened here? Well, since -2 pi over 3 is not in the interval from 0 to pi, okay, then we cannot use the property that we find right here. Okay, so what do we do with that information? Well, we try to see if there is something equivalent going on here. So let's look at cosine 2 pi over 3. Okay, let's just look at the cosine 2 pi over 3. Now you think about unit circle. All right, unit circle. Okay, 2 pi over 3. If I go out theta this way, it's kind of like this right here. So if this is theta equals 2 pi over 3, okay, you've got your x, y here. Now, what I did was -2 pi over 3. So instead of going in the counterclockwise, I'm going to go in the clockwise direction just like this. So this is -2 pi over 3 here. Okay? So what do I know? The only thing different between this value and the other value, these two values here, is that the y value is negative for this one down here and it's positive for this one up here. They have the same x coordinate, okay? So they've got the same x coordinate, it's just the y value that is changing. So what does that tell me? That tells me that the cosine of negative 2 pi over 3 is equal to the cosine of 2 pi over 3. Okay? How else do we know this? We know this because cosine is an even function, and even functions, f of x equals f of negative x. So that means cosine of x equals cosine of negative x, all right? Why is this important to us? Well, now we have the cosine inverse of cosine negative 2 pi over 3 is equal to what? The cosine inverse of cosine 2 pi over 3. This is good now because when I look at the argument at this point, I know that this is between 0 and pi. Okay, that checks out. So what is this equal to? This answer, this equals 2 pi over 3. Okay, so that makes it a little bit easier for you. Now last one, cosine of cosine inverse of pi. Now cosine inverse, the biggest number I can plug in is 1. The smallest I can plug in is -1. Pi is greater than -1, but it's not less than or equal to 1. Okay? So this fails. So this is actually undefined. Okay? So we can't do anything with that. All right? So pi is not in the interval between negative and 1. It's not in the domain of the inverse cosine function. So can't go anywhere else from there. All right, hopefully that video was helpful for you for the cosines.